Hello and welcome to Adapt or Perish, a podcast about adaptation. I'm Jeremy Latour.
And I'm Ian Averill. And today we're talking about Death at a Funeral.
Just the movies, not it sounds like we're talking about an idea. It sounds like we're talking about a concept.
We're not.
No.
There's two movies.
There's two movies called Death at a Funeral.
Yeah.
This is one of the most interesting things I think we've ever done.
Yeah. In a weird way, that's very true.
What a weird thing for there to be. Because I feel like there's usually the example that I can think of two movies coming out within a couple of years of each other that are essentially carbon copies with very, very few changes made except for the context. Like the context of the country that they exist in is almost always a non-English movie being adapted into an English language movie or vice versa. There's almost always going to be like a language difference. That happens constantly. That has happened for years. Yeah. Not so with this one. It's so weird to get a movie and people call the original, like the 2000s. There's two movies, Death at a Funeral 2007 and Death at a Funeral 2010. People I see refer to the 2007 version as like a British movie. Right. And it is in a lot of ways a British production, but we have to acknowledge that it's directed by Frank Oz.
Right.
So is it? I guess that's really my question is is it right to call it like a British movie?
Yeah, and it is a
with
weird
all
one,
with
right?
all that entails, you know?
Because it definitely feels like one in almost every way, and then Frank Oz comes up, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah. And then in the remake, the 2010 version, I see it pop up a lot on black films, that kind of thing. Films with an almost all black cast. And sure, it gets lumped in with a lot of movies like that. And yes, the cast is almost all black actors, but it is written by the same British guy who wrote the first one.
Right.
And it's directed by Neil LaBute. So it also feels weird to say that it's in that kind of realm. So you have two movies that neither of which I think are truly the type of movies that people refer to them as. And they came out 3 years apart and it's just a carbon copy.
Yep.
And it feels more like an experiment than anything else. Do you remember the show Project Greenlight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't watch a ton of it, but
I watched a little bit of it, but the thing about Project Greenlight that I always enjoyed, and so if people don't remember, this was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had a reality show that was all about making movies. And I felt like the show was following the process of making a movie. And that I was never that interested in. But the way they would get the people to make the movies, that was so much more interesting because they always had a competition. There was a competition at the beginning of it. And what they would do is they would send everybody, they would provide everyone who wanted to enter, they would provide them with the same 2-page screenplay with very, very few stage directions. And they were do your interpretation of it. And so getting to watch people do those was a really, really fun exercise because you were seeing people take the exact same words, but do wildly different takes on the material. And that's the kind of thing that I've wanted to see for years. I would love to see one day Spielberg and Coppola stand up and go you know what we're going to do? We're doing a fun thing this weekend. We're going to direct the same scene.
yeah, no, that stuff is always interesting.
I've gone a little off the rails here at the beginning, I feel. Should I reel it back in a little bit?
Well, maybe a little bit to talk about what the movie's about.
So, Death at a Funeral. I want to just read the back of the box here. A son finds it difficult to preserve dignity at his father's funeral when his highly dysfunctional family shows up to pay their last respects, and secret revelations, accidental drug use, and chaos ensue.
I kind of expected this movie. I've never seen either of these.
Okay, I'd seen the original a number of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to. It's great cast. In both of them, really.
Yeah,
I kind of expected there to be more going on than there is in it. There's I was expecting a full farce, like 6 different subplots going on at one time and always bumping into each other. And really there's only 2 or 3.
Yeah.
This isn't really a criticism. It's just not what I expected.
I'm going to say the same thing and it will be a criticism, but go ahead.
But yeah, there's there's the main characters kind of. Okay, so why don't you do the plot a little more first, and then we'll talk about things.
So in the original, now this is going to be one of those tough things because the characters are all the same from one to the other, like the role that they play, but the names are all totally different.
Right.
We've got 4 sets of names because we have the actors' names, we have the character names for 2 different things. So we'll be playing a little fast and loose with it. I do apologize in advance. So at the beginning of the story, the main character's father has died. In the original, this is Daniel, played by Matthew Macfadyen, friend of the pod. And obviously it's directed by Frank Oz, friend of the pod.
Right.
He is at his parents' house that he lives in with his wife. The funeral is about to start. One of the plots that takes us through is the story of him, his brother, who is a famous author, and everyone's very excited. One of the running jokes throughout the whole thing is that he's giving the eulogy, and everyone is disappointed that his brother, the writer, is not giving the eulogy, which feels like the kind of plot point that would be in a script that was written by a writer. So anyway, his brother is there, who's played by Rupert Graves. They have tension throughout the movie, and there's a lot of stuff of like who's responsible and who's irresponsible, and there's money issues between the two of them, and there's a lot of plot in the plot. Everybody's got like multiple motivations, and the motivations are all kind of hitting up against each other because it is one of those scripts that's like it's constructed to be chaotic. It wants to make a lot of things that are going to interact. It wants to make a lot of plot lines that are all going to hit up against each other. So everybody's got a lot of stuff that they're managing, so much so that we can't go through all of it. And I would say their plot throughout all of it is that they meet Peter, who is played by Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
And he's this mystery guy they don't know. And he has crashed the funeral, and he pulls Matthew Macfadyen's character aside. And he's like, hey, just so you know, your father and I were lovers. I have all these pictures. I'm hurt that he didn't leave me anything in his will. You owe me money or I will show these pictures to everybody. There's also Martha, Simon, and Troy. Yeah. Martha and Simon, everyone's related. It's like cousins and stuff like that. Yeah. Martha and Simon, it's Daisy Donovan and Alan Tudyk. Daisy Donovan, by the way, I will say, has not been in very much, but she's fantastic.
Yeah, I liked her quite a bit.
She was in a Death on the Nile that we watched for the show as well. And Alan Tudyk plays her boyfriend. And Chris Marshall plays Troy, her brother. Right. And their whole plot is that Troy makes drugs and Martha accidentally gives her boyfriend Simon something that she thinks is Valium, but it's not Valium. Instead, it's an intense hallucinogenic. Yeah.
Simon is nervous about going to the funeral because her father, who is like the brother of the dead father, I believe, does not like him and has not liked him this whole time, but now like their relationship is the real deal, and you know Martha is very but so like Simon's all nervous. You know, it's no secret we love Alan Tudyk.
Yes,
on this podcast, this is another time where he's in with a bunch of British people doing a British accent. He's not British.
I mean, he's killing it. As as far as I can tell, he's killing it.
He's very good at it. Because the thing about Alan Tudyk is he's very good at the voices.
Yes,
it's nice to have him here.
So a lot of the comedy in the movie comes from Simon tripping balls the entire time.
Yes.
And he is naked for half the movie. And then there's kind of our last set of characters, Howard and Justin, who are 2 guys who are friends with all the main characters, and Uncle Alfie, who is the ancient great uncle that they have to pick up and bring.
Right.
And Howard is like a hypochondriac, and he's really nervous. And Justin he's Ewen Bremner, who we just talked about in Around the World in 80 Days.
Yes.
He's in love with Martha, and and Uncle Alfie is a delightful old codger. It's Peter Vaughan playing this delightful old codger.
Peter Vaughan from Game of Thrones. I mean, from lots of things, but
it's just a nice little Peter Dinklage, Peter Vaughan thing. There's little Game of Thrones stuff going on, which is nice. Oh, and then there's also Matthew Macfadyen's Daniel's wife, Jane, who's Keeley Hawes, and like I'm stopping because we could continue going through the plot, but then we would use up all our time.
Right.
It's chaotic, and there's a lot of stuff going on. It's one of those things where like everything ends up fine. You know, the dad's still dead, but you know, the brothers have come together, and Simon isn't tripping balls anymore, and he's going to get married to Martha, and it's really nice. And they've dealt with Peter in a way. There's like,
in a way.
Yeah. They think he's dead, but then he's not dead. It's a whole
in case everybody's like, death at a funeral, not something that actually happens in either of these two. Now you are you are set up to believe that someone has died for a little while. but that ends up not being true. And so there is no actual death that occurs at this funeral. Spoiler alert.
Can I tell you the big thing that I thought worked in this movie? Because I like this movie. I came out of it. I didn't like it that much when I first saw it. And then watching it again, I'm like, you know what? I like this movie. The performances are uniformly pretty great.
Yeah.
I think Matthew Macfadyen does such a good job anchoring the movie.
Yeah, I agree. He's great.
Yeah. Which was your favorite plot, by the way?
I mean, it's definitely the drug plot line, I feel like. Just because like and I like a lot of the performances in the main, but it's the main plot line, and this is one of the big things we're going to talk about. Not yet, but in a second. The main plot line is like categorically cannot be my favorite.
Right.
It's got a lot of problems. And it's very unfortunate that it's the main plot line.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, the drug plot line is great because I mean, you got Simon going crazy and doing funny stuff, and then you have Ewen Bremner like being just a unrepentant skis ball.
Yep. Because he's constantly trying to get with Martha while Simon is like locked himself in a bathroom tripping.
And she is like not suffering any fools with him. She is just and that's very nice. That's very entertaining. It's like from get, you understand that Ewen Bremner's character has got like there's nothing is happening with this. Like he's bad. And he's not gonna like come out looking okay or anything like that.
Yeah. No, Daisy Donovan and Alan Tudyk, I already said it, but they're my favorite they're my favorite actors in the movie. Like every time they went back to the two of them, I was interested. And it was broad and largely unproblematic and just fun. Here's what doesn't work though. I see what the movie's going for.
Yeah.
I just feel like nothing quite hits the mark, even though some of it gets close. I never found it quite as funny as it wants to be. Yeah. Though parts of it are pretty funny. But like it's there, it's sitting there, it's existing as if to say like, hey, aren't we funny? Isn't this very, very funny that what's happening? It's never quite as chaotic as it wants to be. Like there's small moments of chaos, like when Simon thinks that there's a sound coming in from inside the coffin because he's starting to hallucinate at the funeral and knocks over the coffin and the body falls out. Like that part's chaotic.
Yeah.
But it's over very quickly. Like everyone's in the same room together, a chaotic thing happens, and then it's over. And all these plot lines are not really interacting in a very chaotic way. I always feel like it's never quite as chaotic as it wants you to think it is. Also, I never think it's quite as sincere as it wants to be. It constantly tries to be sincere at little moments just to make sure you're invested in the characters. I mentioned before the thing about the eulogy. You never really hear what the whole planned eulogy is, but you do get the sense that it's not a very good eulogy. And then at the end, the main character, in the midst of absolute chaos, because now it's true chaos, because now Peter Dinklage just popped out of the coffin because he's in there with the dad because they're trying to dispose of his body because they think he's dead, but he's not dead. Also, he had a bunch of the Valium that are actually hallucinogenics.
Yeah.
He wings it and he yells at everyone and he gives this from the heart eulogy about his dad. And the movie treats it like it is incredibly beautiful and sincere because all the characters react to it like it is incredibly beautiful and sincere and affecting. I personally did not feel that it was very beautiful or very or very affecting.
Yeah, it didn't stand out to me at all either. Yeah.
But it felt sincere. Like I thought Matthew Macfadyen actually did a really good job selling it as being sincere, but it certainly wasn't affecting me the way it was trying to make me feel like I was being affected.
Right. Yeah.
So those are just the things that jumped out to me. It's like I can see what it's trying to do. I just didn't feel like it was doing any of those things really well.
Yeah, it's just I pretty much agree with exactly your phrasing from before of like it's doing a lot of things and it's not quite getting there on any of them.
I'm glad you agree with my brutal surgical takedown.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. It's fun. It's mostly harmless.
Yeah. Mostly.
That's the problem. That's the other problem. It's part of it is not harmless. Ian, if you could describe in 2 words that rhyme with schmashmanic that describe the problem with this movie.
intense gay panic. I would, but like it's so baked into the main plot.
Yes.
Peter Dinklage's character is blackmailing them, quote unquote.
No, he's blackmailing them.
I will show these pictures to everyone. Some of them pornographic.
Yeah.
I will show these pictures to everyone, especially your mom, if you don't give me $15,000.
It's a very British movie, Ian. It's pound.
Yeah, sorry, 15,000 pounds. So they spend a bunch of the movie being like, what do we do? And then they end up trying to tie him up and restrain him because they still don't know what to do. And then he ends up being given a bunch of the hallucinogen by mistake. And so now he's tied up and on hallucinogens. And then he falls off of a table and cracks his head, and they think he's dead, and they try to dispose of his body, putting him in the coffin. And then the pictures get shown by mistake.
Well, when he falls out of the coffin,
when he falls out of the coffin,
he drops the pictures, and they see the pictures anyway.
How much slightly more okay would this have been?
Yeah.
If there had been some aspect of this where they were like, wait a second, let's decide not to care.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to pay this guy money. We're just going to tell our mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, just something like that. But instead, they just try to cover it up in extreme ways. And the fact of their father's homosexuality just gets revealed by accident anyway and makes their mom freak out and stuff.
But see, the thing is, like, I think everything you're saying, like, it still assumes the inherently broken part, which is
this is what I'm saying.
The dad being gay is this horrible thing that will destroy the family. And
right.
like it goes, there's so many layers to unpack because the movie is telling you he's not straight, he is gay. You have to buy into that. If you don't already buy in to the idea that there's only two types of people, straight people and gay people, and gay people are either out or closeted, if you don't buy into that, the plot doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You also have to buy into the fact that the only two gay characters are the dead dad and Peter Dinklage. Yeah. Because no one else is gay. No one else seems to know anyone who's gay. Because the way they all treat the revelation is that it's something crazy that only happens to other people.
Right.
And then, of course, the only gay character, the only living gay character in the entire thing is a shitty little blackmailer who's not quite as evil as he is in the remake, but he's still, like, not a good person.
I mean, you kind of think, like, maybe he really does feel like, you know, he hurt that he wasn't left anything in the will. Like, you do empathize a little bit with that. And like I believe that he really does feel that way about their dad. Mm-hmm. You're right. In the remake, not so much. In the remake, you're like, he just wants money.
Yeah. What I'm saying is this part is bad and they should feel bad.
It's crazy.
It's just a weird thing. And like, and then this is clearly, like, I think the gay panic is the worst part.
Mm-hmm.
But I was saying it a second ago, this also is a story about men.
Yeah.
There are women in the movie, but their presence is always in relation to men.
Yeah.
The mom is a woman, and the entire movie, she's sad because her husband died. Mm-hmm. Matthew Macfadyen, his character, his wife, she's in the movie, and in the entire movie, she's frustrated because she wants to move out of the house, and she keeps, she's on him to, like, make a down payment on an apartment.
Yeah.
And so she's just there because of him. Martha, Daisy Donovan's character, like, she spends the entire movie going after her husband who's on hallucinogenics.
Martha is the closest thing to a dimensional female character in the movie.
Even then, she spends the entire movie relating to four men because it's all about her relationship with Simon. It's all about her relationship with her brother who drugged Simon. It's all about her relationship with her dad who hates Simon. And it's all about her relationship with Ewen Bremner's character who she hates and everyone hates because he's terrible. Even though I think in so many ways this is a fun movie and I think everyone showed up to do good work and I think there's a lot of good performances. Like, it's not a great movie.
It's not. No.
Yeah.
It's not. That's why I just gave it 3 stars.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it. Okay.
Yeah, I liked it. After all that stuff, like, it's like I like it and I also do not forgive any of this stuff. It's the kind of thing where it's like I like 51% and the rest of it I either don't like or hate, but that little bit just got me over into liking it. Whereas we might be kind of different on the 2010 version. I was definitely a little under the line. Like, I don't feel that differently about the two movies, but I don't like the remake in the way that I like the original.
Yes. All around the remake is less good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm surprised at how close I kind of feel on them in all of the individual parts.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing because it's a remake, but because it changes so little and it's they're both very competently made movies.
Yeah.
So it feels like a very weird kind of sliding doors situation where like something weird happened in the timeline and we got both versions of the movie when in any other timeline, we would have just gotten one of them and no one would have thought about it.
Yeah, like the remake is just an alternate reality version of the other movie.
It's so strange. So in the 2010 version, it's still Dean Craig. It's still the same writer doing the script. So this British writer is now changing the screenplay to change the context of it to bring it into America. They bring it to California, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the whole family, the way the family is structured is all the same, but now he's writing about Black American people.
Right.
When you might say, well, he may not know much about what that is, and say, well, it's good thing then that it's directed by Neil LaBute. By the way, I don't like Neil LaBute. How do you feel about Neil LaBute?
Well, I guess I've never really felt anything or thought anything about how I feel about Neil LaBute.
I'm going to go. So he got his start. He was a playwright and then started directing movies. He wrote and directed Nurse Betty.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is one of the most misogynistic things I've ever seen. But I knew that with his background in the theater, I knew that there was someone who may have an opinion about him. So I went to Ari and I said, hey, kind of random question. What do you think about Neil LaBute? And Ari was like, oh, I hate him, and he's a misogynist. Why? And I was like, you validated me. Thank you very much. Neil LaBute sucks.
Yeah.
And
he did the Wicker Man remake. Okay.
Yes, he did.
Fascinating.
So going back, now in the role of the son, now it's Chris Rock. Regina Hall is playing his wife. The mom is Loretta Devine. His brother, the writer, is Martin Lawrence. Yeah. So the two guys that pick up the old uncle. Now Tracy Morgan is the nervous hypochondriac, and Luke Wilson is the skeezy guy.
Yeah,
I liked Tracy Morgan kind of playing against type here.
Yeah,
like he actually was better in it than I expected.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like, and for exactly the reason that you're saying, like it's very against type for Tracy Morgan, and I kind of liked that.
I thought Luke Wilson might have phoned it in a little bit, but anyway,
maybe a bit.
And they pick up Uncle Russell, who is Danny Glover. Now he's the really rude, shitty old uncle in a wheelchair.
Right. Which so of course Danny Glover fucking hitting it out of the park in that regard.
Yeah. No, he's great.
Just doing exactly what he needs to do.
Yep.
Danny Glover and all over the place.
Then there's the drug subplot. Instead of Daisy Donovan and Alan Tudyk, now it's Zoe Saldaña and James Marsden.
Mm-hmm.
Two actors I like a great deal.
Yes.
James Marsden. It's just so funny they got Alan Tudyk and James Marsden. And I feel almost exactly the same way about both of them. I'll watch them in anything.
Yep. This is one of my favorite things about this remake is that I am not going to say that James Marsden in this is better than Alan Tudyk in the original, because that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy how much I like them equally.
Yeah, 100%.
Because Marsden is super funny in this movie, and I feel like a lot of his comedy while being high is very good.
Yes. Yeah, no, I don't make me pick because I won't.
Yeah.
They're both fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, as if to make the whole thing feel more surreal, there is the guy who was having an affair with the dad, and it's Peter Dinklage.
That's right. Just comes back with a different character name, which is a garbage decision. I don't understand why they did that. Everyone else's name being different, fine, but there's absolutely it's the same actor playing the same part. You don't need why change the name?
Well, here's why they changed the name, because now it's Frank.
Yeah,
he is, as we were saying before, he is a different character.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a villain.
Yeah.
Whereas, I'm really glad you called it out, because I agree. The way he played the character in the original, I did get the sense that even though he was making decisions that I disagree with, I did believe that he cared about their dad. And he was sad that he was dead.
Yes.
But in this one, he's just like, hey, guess what? I got pictures of me and your dad. You owe me money. That's it. He has one note.
Yeah. And it's Peter Dinklage. He's playing that one note very well. But it's a different kind of thing.
But it's almost worse to see all the gay panic played well Like, that's not good. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
You might wonder 3 years later, for made for a different audience, is the gay panic in this plot any better? No,
worse.
No, very
Absolutely
much not.
Worse.
If anything, it is a little worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is this complete commitment to the idea that this is bad.
Right.
Like, it's not just bad that he lied to mom.
Yeah.
It's bad that he is gay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this one also, like, I don't know where this came from. I don't know if this was the script. I don't know if it was something they made up on the set. I don't know if it was Neil LaBute. But this one was like, you know what? There's not enough gay panic in it, because you know what? That drug subplot has no gay panic in it. So what we should do is, how about when he's hanging naked off the roof, when the guy who's tripping is hanging naked off the roof, what if the brother comes up and has to pull him in, but the guy's penis touches his face, and this like changes their relationship? Because that's obviously, there's no way to come back from that, right?
Just basic human stuff, right?
Yeah. So they add gay panic to storylines that didn't even have it in the original. Mm-hmm. It's worse in this one.
The only there is one particular change that I found interesting. It is a little bit of a change, and that is that, so as the main character, Chris Rock in this one, while in the original, Matthew Macfadyen's wife is basically badgering him the whole movie about how they're finally going to get to move out of the house. So put the down payment on this apartment in. And we got to get kickstarted on our own separate lives, and all this stuff. They just changed that in this one to like, she wants to have a kid, so she's trying to get him to have sex all the time.
Yep. It is, you know what? They probably sat down and they were like, you know what? It is probably not a very good representation of women that we have this character badgering him the whole time just for like an apartment.
Yeah.
Do you know what women are, though? They're baby crazy.
Yeah.
All women.
Yeah. We should switch it to that.
Anyone will understand this. I'm Neil LaBute. I understand women, because I think Neil LaBute thinks he understands women. I genuinely think he does.
Yeah, you can tell.
And it could not be further from the truth. Can I say one more thing about this one that like I feel kind of bad about? In the original, despite its flaws, I feel like Matthew Macfadyen gives a really, really good central performance. Mm-hmm. I like Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Chris Rock is limited as an actor.
He is. Even to this day, like, I mean, he's had some like more recent stuff where he's really tried to put it forward. Like, season 4 or whatever it's either 4 or 5 of the Fargo TV series. He's the main character. But I mean, even like, I'm not speaking ill of him. He's limited.
Yes.
And even when he's like really trying to push through, he's got, I just think he's got a ceiling of like what he can do. Yeah. So I agree. But anyway, we'll finish what you were saying.
So when I think about that moment at the end where he has to give the eulogy, the movie is still treating it as if it is sincere and beautiful and affecting. And the problem is, it's no more affecting than it was in the original. Mm-hmm. It's no more beautiful than it was in the original. Everyone's still acting in the movie like it's really beautiful, but it's also not sincere because he's not doing a good enough job selling it, where Matthew Macfadyen did do a good job selling it.
Yeah. Death at a funeral.
Yeah. Let's do quadrants really quickly.
Sure.
Do you think they cared about the original? Or did you think they thought they were living in a world where no one had done it before?
No, I mean, I think they did.
Frank Oz got a little special thanks at the end in the credits, which was nice.
That was nice.
Yeah.
No, I think they cared. I mean, they obviously cared enough to, pretty much copy the plot beat for beat. So,
I mean, it's written by the same person. Like, it's...
Yeah. He had to have cared about it. He did it.
Mm-hmm. Was it successful?
No. But that's... No asterisks.
This is going to be weird.
I got to stop saying this because it's like pretty much all, no matter what answer I give in any of the quadrant stuff, it's all got an asterisk.
Yeah. I think it was successful.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
If you keep your expectations super low, like, I think it's a competently made movie. It has lots of problems, but it's still like, it's a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I'm going to switch mine to a yes asterisk.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad we finally got to this one because I've always wanted to talk about this weird experiment that isn't an experiment, but like should have been an experiment, and it should be something that happens more often.
It's cool. It's kind of neat in that regard, at least.
Yeah. Well, this has been Adapter Parish. You can always find us online at adapterparishcast.com. There you'll find our social links, contact information, show notes for this and every episode, and more. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everybody.